do about it, sitting on the Financial Services Committee?
Well, as I said, in the near term, the important thing is to be an adult and not assign political blame right now, but oversight over the federal regulators to make sure we eliminate any systemic risk, to restore financial stability, to the extent possible, protect the uninsured depositors and all the payroll that's out there without a taxpayer bailout. But ultimately, in the longer term, we are going to have oversight hearings about the underlying causes of this. And Maria, you're absolutely right. The underlying causes was basic fiscal and monetary policy errors and a failure not of a lack of regulation, but of inadequate bank supervision. And the regulators need to do some soul searching here about extracurricular political errands that they're on instead of basic nuts and bolts bank supervision. The bank regulators have all the tools that they have. They have all the authorities that they need. And over the weekend, they use them, and it shows that they have the tools. But they need to be basically cognizant of the interest rate risk that, frankly, fiscal policy and monetary policy caused. And that's why we have interest rate sensitivity in many of these regional banks.
Well,
so a lack of hedging is important. And also, just to finish the thought, this particular bank, SVB, had 90% uninsured deposits concentrated in a single sector, 50% of the market share in tech, a sector under distress. And that's why you had a run on these uninsured deposits. And the fact that the bank management did the riskiest thing that they could have done, which is invest those deposits in long-dated, hold-to-maturity securities.
Yeah, I mean, you had tech and also biotech as well. Those sectors now are scrambling. And I want to know, are we also using these tools to bail out China? Because this is also a China story. Morgan Ortagus tweeted this. Surprise, surprise, SVB was in deep with Chinese banks and companies. Can we all agree U.S. taxpayers should not bail out the Chinese companies who invested in Silicon Valley Bank? And then you've got the Financial Times this morning reporting that SVB's China venture is now in doubt. A former State Department spokesperson Morgan Ortagus tweeted this. We just showed you Silicon Valley Bank's China venture in doubt. Morgan Ortagus tweeted what I just said to you. But now we want to look at whether or not this is a bailout. And the Financial Times this morning is reporting that Ken Griffin, who, of course, founded Citadel, U.S. capitalism is breaking down before our eyes, says Ken Griffin. He is saying that the rescue package for Silicon Valley Bank unveiled by regulators is breaking down capitalism before our eyes. He told the Financial Times that the government should not have intervened to protect all SVB depositors following the collapse of the bank. The U.S. is supposed to be a capitalist economy, and that's breaking down, he said in an interview yesterday. He says there's been a ton of financial discipline with the government bailing out depositors in full. So what are we supposed to do now, Congressman? Support and guarantee all deposits at all banks?
Well, Griffin is right that capitalism requires risk. And in order to have market discipline and avoid moral hazard, you have to allow failure. In this case, there is a failure, even with the government's intervention, insofar as the equity holders and the bond holders and obviously the management are being punished here. But the point is taken that there is a, quote, and Tom Hainig also said there's a bailout of the uninsured depositors. These depositors were induced to park millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars of uninsured deposits at this one institution. We need to look at why that happened, why there was that inducement to take on that much risk on the part of the depositors. But it is noteworthy to say that with the exception, the systemic risk exception that the FDIC and Treasury and the Fed invoked here, that the taxpayers, at least for now, the taxpayers are not bailing out SVB depositors or these other uninsured depositors. It's an assessment on the banks through the Deposit Insurance Fund. But the point is a good one, that whatever we do here, we should not put the liability on the taxpayer. That's critically important, and we need market discipline.
Now, you think you'll have hearings on this?
Absolutely. I anticipate hearings soon. And again, we're going to be exercising oversight of the regulators to make sure we, number one, prevent systemic risk, restore financial stability. But we'll also look at these other issues relating to the underlying causes, bad monetary fiscal policy, and preventing taxpayer bailouts, which really would create a moral hazard that we must avoid.
Yeah. All right. We will be watching. Congressman, thank you. Andy Barr joining us this morning.
Good to be with you.
We will appreciate